Have you ever found yourself second guessing every decision, paralyzed by what ifs, or lost in the maze of reunion anxiety? Are you caught in a cycle of anxiety and procrastination, especially when it comes to adoption reunion? Well, you're not alone. Today, we'll explore what second guessing really looks like in the tender moments of reunion and learn how to anchor ourselves. From real life decisions like sending that first text or making that first phone call to silencing the whirlwind of what ifs. Join me on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment. It's time to transform our fears into steps forward, turning second guesses into confident choices. Let's get into it. So where exactly does second guessing come from? It goes beyond decision making. Second guessing is influenced by our emotions and our experiences that have helped shape our personalities and our relationships. In the world of adoption reunions, it's got to be amplified because there's such a significance on reconnecting with that child or with that birth parent and a part of your identity that as birth moms we kind of lost when we gave our children up for adoption, and that identity that adoptees are searching to find. Adoption reunions are so complex. Just think about it for a second. They're so complex. There's a desire to connect, but then there's an anxiety over disrupting relationships. And then there's a hope to fill the identity gaps, and then a fear that reality, a fear that in reality, things might not meet our expectations. So there's so much going on within us that it makes everything just so much more difficult, and it gives it such another level of anxiety. We are all vulnerable in reunion. We're exposing intimate aspects of ourselves in the adoption context. You have to you don't have to, but you generally do. You go back and you relive those days. Us as birth parents or birth mothers, we go back and we tend to relive those days of relinquishment and how tough it was. Adoptees might go back to their childhood. I'm not really sure. I can really only speak for birth mothers, but I would assume that they would go back to their childhood and start to remember some of their fantasies if they had some about, reconnecting with their birth mother, birth father. It's natural to question our actions and words and feelings about the correctness, but there comes a point when that it goes too far, and we are not respecting ourselves and giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt, because we just keep questioning all those questions. And sometimes we have past experiences that may influence how we go forward with our reunion. I know in my circumstance that has a lot to do with how I am dealing with me and my daughter's reunion. I had one really significant boyfriend who we were on and off again for years and years and years. And the way that everything happened within our relationship from beginning to end, I think about how similar my relationship with my daughter is, but then again, not. Because I remind myself that, she's a different person. So I second guess myself, but I do catch myself as well. But honestly, that influence of our previous traumas and rejections do reflect on ourselves and our self-worth and our self-image. It can be both a shield and a doubt, depending on how we look at it. Sometimes for me, it's a shield. Sometimes it's a doubt. It depends on the day. And these past experiences that we have, they may significantly play a role in our reunion without us even realizing it, just like mine does for me. Those past rejections and those past traumas can be a real influence. They can be either a source of doubt, or they can be a shield and help us along. So understanding where second guessing comes from can provide insight, but not immediate relief to what we're going through. But as you work through them and try to dispel these feelings, it may help you immensely. Recognition of those doubts and that second guessing is a step forward in reassurance, healing, and confidence. I have seen for myself in my own healing, in my own confidence going forward, that I'm able to now recognize when I'm second guessing. Sometimes it takes me a couple days because I'm stuck in that rut, but I am able to pull myself out of it. I sit with those feelings before acting on them, and then I go forward and try to, work through it on my own. What does second guessing look like in reunion? Or what can it look like in reunion? So, one of the biggest hesitations that I hear, one of the biggest second guessing things I hear, especially in my Birthmom groups, and I kind of went through this with this too, but I was more anxious than anything, is hesitating to reach out when the child comes of age, or if you have found them and they found you, maybe your DNA matched, maybe you found them on Facebook or Instagram or something, is sending that first message or making that first call. I heavily second guessed reaching out to her when she turned 18, because the biggest thing in my mind was I did not want to disturb her life. I thought that that would be a disturbance, and that, maybe she was too young and she'd be going off to college, and I just didn't want to affect anything. Then it came that it was, she turned 21. Well, she's probably just finishing up college. I don't want to disturb her when she starts her new career. And then, she turns 25, maybe she's starting a family or settling down. I don't want to disturb that. There was always an excuse for me. I consistently second guessed myself, and it was the wrong thing to do, because she did ask me when we reunited is why I didn't come find her sooner. And that sent a knife right through my heart. But anyways, I totally understand where people are coming from, but I do encourage people to send that first message, reach out, because sometimes they are thinking the exact same thing as you. The other thing that, and I did this a little bit too, is having doubts after conversations. Did I say too much? Did I give too much information? Was I too forward? My thing was, I didn't want to feel to be felt like I was being too motherly or smothering. I wanted to know things about her, and I wanted to get as much information as possible. But some people do feel like maybe they gave up too much information too soon. Another one that really seems like a form of second guessing is the fear of rejection, not being enough or being too much. I did do a video about feeling like you're not enough to reach out. Maybe you don't have a big house or a fancy car or a huge career or anything, and you don't feel adequate enough. And I felt this way too. So you don't reach out, and you do hesitate, and that is a form of second guessing as well. Fear of rejection, I think that was part of my second guessing. I mean, I think that for the most part, there is a lot of a little parts of all these second guessings that come to a big, you know, big hesitation in not moving forward, but they're all forms of second guessing. So, what are some examples of second guessing? So, drafting and deleting messages because you worry about how it might be perceived, or you're worried if they won't respond. Um, I think I do this with almost everything I do. Even texting her sometimes, I'm like, oh no, I don't like the way that sounds. When I would send her email messages, there was definitely write it out, read it over, edit it, read it over, edit it, and then send. There was definitely a lot of that. A lot of it was because I wanted to get a lot of information across properly, and it's hard when you're writing things out. But that was, and still is sometimes, and with everybody, even with these videos, sometimes I'm like, I make a video and I'm just not. I don't know how it will be perceived by other people, and I hesitate with putting them out. Another example of second guessing in reunion would be rehearsing reunion meetings and then doubting the timing and readiness of the moment as it nears. So you have these huge doubts and fears after you've rehearsed this reunion meeting over and over, and you cannot know how it's going to go. So regardless of how much you rehearse a reunion meeting, you honestly don't know how it will go. And then a third example of second guessing is analyzing conversations that you had after the interaction, or maybe questioning the authenticity and impact it has on you after you've already had the discussion, rather than asking a question or reaching out to ask and be like, hey, did you mean this or something? When you just analyze, she didn't really like that. You don't know, you're assuming, and it's something that's a second guessing. But why do we do this? Why are we second guessing ourselves so much in reunion? A lot of it, I think, is rooted in fear. The fear of the unknown. How is it going to go? How is she going to take everything? Is she going to, shy away from me? Because you don't know their personality, so you don't know. So a lot of it might be rooted in fear. And then there's the fear of rejection, like I stated a little while ago. There's that fear too, that they won't want to know you. And then another one is not meeting your expectations. I didn't have this feeling that reunion with her would not meet my expectations, but I have heard other people that have said this. Another root cause of this fear can be the emotional complexity of adoption reunions themselves. That can enhance your fears because you don't know how it's going to go. And it's like walking on eggshells and entering a room with no lights. You don't know how it's going to go, and that just amplifies that fear and that anxiety. Recognition of these fears is the first step in addressing the second guessing and can help you to stop that second guessing. So in our next part, we're going to talk a little bit about how we can stop second guessing ourselves. One of the first things that you might want to start doing is interrupting the negative self-talk. It's that little inner voice that always speaks and mumbles all the doubts and fears that you have about reunion. And I know it's easier said than done, but one thing that has helped me, and so many people have said things like this, is you have to switch everything into a positive, maybe make it into a question, but you have to catch yourself. You have to catch yourself and say, no, I'm not going to say that. And you push the thought away. And I know it's easier said than done, But once you start to do it, the habit becomes easier to do. And you continually start to catch yourself and be like, hey, no, I'm not going to think like that, and push it away. It starts out as a difficulty, but it really does end up being quite easy to do. So the next thing you can try to do is recognize and challenge those overly critical thoughts. So now you're not just recognizing it and pushing it away, but you're actually challenging it. Question the validity of the negative thoughts. Are they facts? Is it real? And if you don't know the answer to that question, then understand that those thoughts may not be facts at all. Another thing you can try to do is replace those negative thoughts with positive affirmations. Like I was saying before, turn it into a question or turn it into something positive. As an example, you can say to yourself something along the lines of, I am doing my best. I am learning and I am growing. And then you can use that as your affirmation in reunion to push away those negative thoughts. I am doing my best in this reunion. I am learning a lot about adoption reunion, and I am growing in my education about adoption reunion. Giving yourself acknowledgement of overcoming negative self-talk is a great way to give yourself some more encouragement. Maybe give yourself a pat on the back or a thumbs up or maybe a little treat even, a little candy or something, and you can just give yourself that recognition that you need, that you are overcoming this second guessing and putting all that stuff aside. So another thing that you can do to stop second guessing yourself is embrace acceptance. And what this looks like is accept your current feelings, your situation, the reality of reunion without wishing for it to be different. Just understand that some aspects are beyond your control and take the responsibility for your own current situation without dwelling on coulda, shoulda, woulda. Reunion is tough in itself. So thinking back, and I'm not saying don't grieve. I'm saying that if I could have kept her, that I should have kept her, that I would have kept her, you have to put that aside and grieve all of it. I'm absolutely grieve all of it because it helped me immensely to grieve all of it. But let those self-talks go. Let that go and don't think that way. The coulda, shoulda, wouldas will really keep you down. So acceptance is also a path to reducing pressure and opening up to new possibilities, because you don't know, again, if you haven't actually reunited and you're still at the beginning well, you know what, even if you are in the midst of reunion, just accept that your reunion is where it is right now and it is what it is. I made a video, I think one video back, and I talked about how my daughter and my relationship has basically stagnated and we are kind of at a lull and it hasn't grown anymore. And this really got me down and I really was having a lot of trouble with the feelings behind it. But I sat with it for a few days and I came out the other side and I feel better about it. And this is one of the things that I realized, well, we are just here right now. We're not in a horrible spot. We talk every day, we still text every day, and there's just no going forward. So maybe it's just at a time of a lull for us. Maybe we'll kick up another notch in a year or 2 years or 10 years. I don't know, but I'm accepting where I am right now in our adoption reunion. And then give yourself some affirmations of acceptance. This always helps too. Validate your feelings, acknowledge the uniqueness of your own journey and the journey that you have together in adoption reunion. I recognize that the process takes time. I say this all the time. Reunion is not a race. It is a marathon. It is a journey. It takes a long time, if not your whole entire life. It will continually change and it will continually ebb and flow, just like any other relationship would. Now, lastly, let's talk about redirection. This is another way you can try to help stop that negative self-talk and that second guessing, is practicing redirection. People do this a lot with children, especially little toddlers and stuff. You redirect them to, if they're upset about something, redirect them to another toy, another show, another something other. They do this with animals. If you have a dog, you redirect them away from the dog that they're seeing and that they're barking at, and you take them over to their favorite ball. So you take their attention away from what they're angry at. You can do the same things with yourself. Focus your energy on aspects within your own control when facing these what ifs. Engage in productive and positive actions, maybe seeking support, maybe jump into the Birthmom group, or start doing your favorite hobby, distract yourself, or maybe even do a little meditation that can help you. And I've also done a video on things that help me to heal. So I have some links in that video that, help me with my mindfulness practices. I will link all the videos I talk about in this video in the description below. And then you can also utilize self-coaching questions to alter your thought patterns. An example of this would be, how can I make the most of my circumstances? Or maybe something like, how would a confident person respond? Or what energizes me? And these help to redirect and also help you to think about how to work through the feelings that you are having at the moment. And recognize that this all means progress. You are making small little steps, and that is super valuable. It takes a lot of time to get to a point where you can self-identify your issues and your problems and your triggers and your fears and be able to work through them. But little by little, if you just catch it every once in a while, let's say 30 times a day, you're having triggers. If you catch it one time a day, that one time a day is going to turn into 2 times a day. And then it'll turn into 4 times a day. And eventually, and I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. It takes a long time. It's taken me years to be able to, let's see, I've been in reunion for 5 years. I started really learning about adoption reunion after about a year. So it's been 4 years. I went through grief for about a year. And then it's taken me a good 2 years to be able to catch myself, after a few days. So when I was just having issues, it was probably a good week before I said to myself, "Ooh, I've gotta rethink about this." So it takes time. I wish that I could be like, bad thought, turn it off, but I'm still not there. And it might take some time for you too. So, and lastly, of course, I encourage seeking external support when it's needed. If you need to talk to a licensed therapist or join a local support group or, any type of guidance like that, I emphasize the importance of doing so. This journey is tough. It is not easy. And there's likely that you're going to have some thoughts that you never thought that you would have. I always thought that reunion would be super easy and boom, we connect and that's it. And it is much farther from the truth. So have you started to see your fears a little differently now? I hope that today's video has shown you that second guessing yourself doesn't have to be a barrier in your reunion. Confront these moments, Step forward and transform your journey into one of empowerment and self-confidence. Remember, your journey is unique, and it's okay to navigate it at your own pace. Until we meet again, keep turning your second guesses into your strongest convictions. And remember, you're not alone in this. See you in the next video, where we'll explore more together. Bye-bye.